The hot and new Final Fantasy XVI is coming out real soon, like this week soon if I get this video out in time. And it looks really good, like McDonald's chicken nuggets on a hot sunny day good. Led by Yoshi P and his godlike team of people. Now with a team like this, you're bound to get an amazing game, so how does Final Fantasy XVI look like? Wait, this is what it looks like? What the heck? It looks too realistic. What is this, Game of Thrones? The women look boring and too realistic. Where are my anime women? Where's my turn-based combat? This is the conundrum we're in, and people are not happy with that. And me, personally, I dig this stuff. It looks really great. As a fan of Game of Thrones, seasons 1 through 4, there was no other seasons. The setting and the elements associated with it are just so cool, and this is such a cool turn from normal Final Fantasy, you know, fantasy, anime-like stuff to like a really cool medieval type dark fantasy game. And because it's such a different turn for Final Fantasy, people are not liking this game. The game hasn't even came out yet and people are just already hating it. People are calling this game not a real Final Fantasy. Yeah, in fact, people were trying to get that trending on Twitter, like, not my Final Fantasy. It was kind of cringe. It didn't really work out so well. And that leads me to a question today, which is, what makes a game Final Fantasy? Is it the beautiful anime-like women, or is it the over-the-top character designs with the crazy big weapon or a gun blade thing? And we don't even have like a Twinkie main character anymore, like from the other Final Fantasies. Instead, we have Clive, Clive, he looks great though, let's admit, he's a really handsome dude. Is a true Final Fantasy game like turn-based, not action? What about having a warrior of light, or light and dark versus each other? Or a ragtag group of misfits who come together to save the world from evil that never met each other until this moment they were destined to go off and fight evil. Many fans of Final Fantasy may have a game from the series that they deem to be the true essence of Final Fantasy. It could be their first game ever, or a game that really fits their aesthetic. But because of that, we all kind of have our own definitions of what Final Fantasy is. And with so many different Final Fantasies, you know, we're up to like 16 plus many different spin-offs, it's really hard to say what is the true, definite definition of what Final Fantasy is. A lot of people keep saying, you know, 16 is not a real Final Fantasy game, and, you know, I'm gonna be real here. What the f is a real Final Fantasy game? Number one, we have your basic JRPG game, you know, basic story, nothing really special there. It's just a nice little simple classic game. In 7, we're playing as literal terrorists. For Final Fantasy 9, we're playing as the Monkey Man Zidane. And that's all I know about that game. Sorry, I gotta play that game one day. And for 15, we're playing as the Backstreet Boys. And here's something I want to share from the Final Fantasy XVI LA event. Kitase and Sakaguchi have a shared sentiment that a Final Fantasy title can be whatever the lead thinks is the best kind of game. While Final Fantasy VII-R and 16 have very different feels, they hope you enjoy both of them. And why would I share this certain tweet here about these two Japanese people? Well, it just so happens that Sakaguchi is the father of Final Fantasy. You know, he founded Final Fantasy itself. Also, he's the guy who founded Gucci, you know, the luxury brand. If the man who created Final Fantasy says that the lead can make whatever they think is best for Final Fantasy, then I think it's safe to say that it's probably a real Final Fantasy title. Which kind of goes back to the whole thing about people discrediting 16 for not being a real Final Fantasy. If the man who created Final Fantasy himself says it is, pretty much, then it is, I guess. I'll take Sakaguchi's word over some guy on the internet who has no real relevance as to why his opinion should be, you know, the word of law. And for the other person in the tweet, Kitase, who is the current producer of Final Fantasy VII-R, as well as having a huge role in other games such as Chrono Trigger, 6, 7, 8, and 10? I think it's safe to say that these two have a really good idea what a Final Fantasy is, and, you know, the fact that these two are coming together saying, hey, we support Yoshi P and his idea, you know, please enjoy the game, and also enjoy Final Fantasy VII-R, which is a really big thing to mention here because a lot of people like to compare Final Fantasy VII-R with 16. And in reality, you can enjoy both the games or one or the other without having to be, you know, weird online. This is like going back to console wars. I thought we dropped this stuff back years ago. We're all on the same team here, guys. We just want a game. It doesn't matter. There's no need to have these two queens fight off against each other, okay? I will enjoy both my Tifa and my Torgal, you know, both in different separate ways, not the same way, you know. One I like to hold, you know, kiss and, you know, make love to. and the other being Tifa. I'm always down to welcome any kind of Final Fantasy game out there, you know? I think it's best to go into things with an open mind. And speaking of Final Fantasy 16, I've seen a lot of weird tweets trying to dunk on the game for the most weirdest things ever, and it just baffles me. One of the many things that people are trying to dunk on about 16 is the graphics of the game. And I'm gonna be real with you guys. It looks fine to me. The game looks really good at certain points. Yeah, okay, maybe you may say something doesn't look great here or something, but overall, it doesn't really take me away from the game. Like, I could play the demo really fine and it looked great. And I'm gonna level with you guys here. I play RuneScape. And I'm not talking about RuneScape 3. No, I'm talking about OSRS, old school RuneScape, baby. This game, I love it. And you know, this looks better, but I like this game. 16 looks great, and what RuneScape taught me is that it doesn't matter how ugly it looks. What matters is how fun it is and on the inside. And that message really resonates with me because I'm ugly. Anything that isn't blocky or tiles at this point looks gorgeous to me. And what matters to me is just the funness of the game. And that's what 16 has brought. The demo alone, I go back and replay it just for the action. It's that good. I love the action gameplay so much, and this is coming from a guy who loves turn-based gameplay. And I get it, it's really conflicting for a lot of fans because first off, turn-based is something that has been a staple in Final Fantasy, and now it's slowly, you know, walking away from that. While turn-based does feel at home, and it's like something we're used to at this point, I really welcome this new action kind of gameplay, and it just plays so smooth and so well. I will agree though, it does suck moving away from turn-based gameplay, but I'm not gonna lie here. A lot of games do turn-based a lot better than Final Fantasy. And don't get me wrong, you know, I love my classic, you know, Cloud runs up, smacks a guy with a sword, but have you ever played SMT or Persona where you abuse an enemy's weakness and get an extra action for that turn? It feels so great. And not only this, if you want a classic Final Fantasy-like experience, you know, with turn-based like, I think Octopath Traveler does a really great job of that. Turn-based is not dead at all. In fact, I still think it's a really fun genre, and there's a lot of other games out there that can still do turn-based really well. In fact, Chained Echoes is actually really good as well. Go check that one out. Here's another issue I've heard from people about 16. The frame rates are not the best. I heard it's like 45 to 60. Honestly, to me, I played the demo, it seemed fine. It wasn't like playing Bloodborne where it was like super noticeable. So to me, it wasn't really a point of like, oh my god, it ruined the gameplay. It was like, yeah, it was serviceable. Like, I was able to get past it. And once again, I am a RuneScape player, so I guess I'm just really that simple of a person. The only thing I would say that sucks from the demo is the motion blur, which I think a lot of us can agree the motion blur sucks. But luckily for us, they actually are addressing the motion blur, so fingers crossed for a patch that does something about the motion blur because there was no option in the demo. And lastly, some people want to take a shot at Yoshi P for some ungodly reason, and I don't know why. Yoshi P has been shown to be a pretty great gaming dev producer guy. What do you really call his role? I don't really know. Yoshi P and his team worked to bring 14 back from the brink of death. You know, bring it from 1.0 to 2.0. And, well, actually, technically, it did die. They just brought it back from the dead. But once you start seeing the amount of work and the dedication he puts into his games, you start to realize how much this man loves gaming and just gets it. For his plans for 14 to be better, I think he said something along the lines of like, hey team, let's just copy WoW. Let's copy all the good parts about WoW and make 14 better like that. Placing 16 in the hands of Yoshi P only gives me more faith that the game will do really well. I know he's going to produce something amazing with 16. The demo already proves it. People are talking about how great this game is. He's told us we haven't seen much of the game at all. They've kept a lot of stuff hidden from us. And I think it's going to do really great. I say I think because, you know, there could be a factor where the game turns out to be not so great and then I look stupid making this video. I hope that's not the case. But hey, if Father Sakaguchi approves of Yoshi P, and hell, he plays 14 religiously, like he still plays it. He doesn't just play the MSQ, dropped it. No, he actually takes a sweet time with 14. If he believes in Yoshi P, then I believe in Yoshi P, of course. 16, from what I heard so far, is a system seller. The amount of people buying a PS5 just for the game leading up to the game's release and being sold on the demo alone just shows how great this game is, and the hype behind it is real. Final Fantasy 16 is a real Final Fantasy game. The people behind it says it is. The people who are important says it is. And to me, it's a real Final Fantasy game. What makes a Final Fantasy game is pretty much the ideas of going on a grand adventure, and that's pretty much has me sold. on what a Final Fantasy game is. And not only that, but I mean, if it says Final Fantasy on the box art, then it's Final Fantasy, right? The definition of Final Fantasy is always changing and evolving, and I think that's something magical about this series. You never really know what you're gonna get, you know? 1 second realism, next game might be anime, big booby women, or cat girls, I don't know. We'll never know. We'll never know. Yoshi P has been shown to be the gaming god he is, and, you know, not in the Todd Howard way, you know what I mean. Fallout 76. Ooh. As a final word, I just want to say, go buy a PS5 for $16, and if it doesn't work out and the game is actually terrible, then expect me to delete this video. Bye.